So I wanted to talk. I was gonna just let the whole uh, failure of Ben and Jerry's new ice cream flavor just kind of fall by the wayside because it's just anybody with half a brain realizes that it's branding. It's corporate branding. It's the corporate branding of the resistance movement. Anybody with half a brain realizes it's not serious, that it poses no threat, and that it's a huge laughable joke. It's directly contradictory of what the so-called far left stands for, what the socialists stand for. But I had mentioned on Twitter, and any of you that follow me realize this, um, realize that it has failed miserably. So I was talking to some far leftist, and she had said, that I get my news from only one source, which is just fundamentally not true. I get my news from mostly I like to use the Drudge Report and Google News. Drudge Report I like to use because it's an aggregate. It pulls news websites from all over the place and puts them up there. The most relevant, hard hitting, important news stories are there. The big ones for the day. Because if you go to CNN or Fox News, it's going to be very narrative specific stories, one after the other. If it's CNN, it's Trump sucks, Trump sucks, Trump sucks, Trump sucks, Trump sucks. If it's Fox News, it's Trump's great, Trump's great, Trump's great, Trump's great, Trump's great. What I feel like my job is as an informed voter is to read everything, everything Trump's doing, every policy he signs. Same thing I did with Obama. Every executive order that's issued, every bill that's signed into law, and make informed decisions when I go to the polls. That being said, I basically told her that's just not true. I get my news from all over the place, whether it's the Guardian, the Associated Press, Fox, CNN, the failing New York Times, whatever. And she didn't believe me that this was a colossal failure. So let's start off with the cringeworthy video that Ben and Jerry's decided to post for their new flavor, Pecan Resist. Knows that things can't slow down. All right. Why is this a colossal failure? Well, let's take a look. Besides the memes on Twitter, let's see what the like-dislike ratio is. Oh, they've disabled the like-dislike ratio. You're not allowed to know how many people like it and how many people dislike it, how many people disagree. Well, that's fine. Let's go to the comments section and see what people are saying. Oh, I can't, because they've also disabled the comments. People are upset. And I don't even think that people are so upset with the fact that, they're taking part in the resistance movement. As much as they partnered with Linda Sarsour. These same types of people have turned around and called all Republicans anti-Semites, hate-filled Nazis. Don Lemon just got done with his whole garbage about us all essentially being terrorists, and something needs to be done about us. Unless you're gay, of course, because it's not just white men, right? Don Lemon, as long as they're gay, then, or trans or something like that, then they can't possibly be a problem, can they? Or should we get rid of white gay men and white trans as well? Should we deal with them as well? Because they might become radicalized to the right. Linda Sarsour is an anti-Semite who believes that, Sharia law is liberating for women. It's just simply not true. Because you take the woman's right to choose a faith if she wants one at all. You are turning around and saying that women have to observe Muslim traditions. It's that is authoritarianism. That is the authoritarianism that you charge Trump with. It's mind-blowing. Anywho, I think that's the big reason. In wake of the synagogue shooting, it's put a lot of finger pointing towards the right and the left. The right mentioning that most people on the left are anti-Israel and pro-Palestine, and people on the left claiming that the right are Nazis and they secretly want to gas the Jews and that they're secretly Hitler. So I think that's where you see this disconnect, and I think that's where you see the anger and the outrage at Ben & Jerry's. Because a lot of people kind of just... Ben & Jerry's has been doing this for a little while now, with the whole, trying to hijack the social justice warrior movement, corporatize it, and brand it so they can make a buck off it. A lot of... And in Ben & Jerry's defense, that they're not the first ones. They're not the first ones to do it. And they won't be the last ones, the last corporation to try to hijack the movement. I think it's bad business. I think businesses need to stay out of the realm of politics. If you want to donate to a cause, or you want to use your company to donate to a cause, I think that's your right, and I think that most Americans will be okay with. I think when you start naming your products for your hatred against the president, whether it be Obama or Trump or a future Democrat president, if there ever is one, I think it's a bad business model because you alienate half the population. We're roughly completely divided in half at this point. Half the population is Democrat, half the population is some form of Republican, whether they don't whether they are independent but they're conservative or whatever. In one form or another, they are conservative. And when you alienate half the country like that, that's half the country that's sick and tired of it and won't buy your product. I'm not going to go out tomorrow and buy a pecan resist ice cream. In fact, I'm not going to shop for Ben & Jerry's ice cream ever again. There are too many other companies out there that don't shove their politics down my throat, and I'm sure that some like Blue Bell and some of them, have their liberal CEOs that are, pro-Democrat, anti-Trump, but they keep it to themselves because I don't need to hear it when I'm out buying my groceries. I don't need to hear it when I'm watching American Horror Story. I don't need it, when I'm watching Star Wars. There are just some things you leave the politics out of and let people live their lives. Let them believe what they want, as long as they're buying your product. You're not convincing anybody to be like, you know what? I was a Trump supporter, but then Ben & Jerry's came out with the hashtag resist ice cream flavor, and I was just on board after that. Take away my right to free speech. Here are my guns. It doesn't work like that. So, I think that's the starting point. But I still believe in what I said about the red wave in my previous video, where I talk about what Democrats are forgetting coming into the November 6th election. But I think it's important to remember that you need to get out and vote. Ben & Jerry's had to... Here's the thing. If they get their way this election, it's not... Conservatives don't have to be worried about Trump. Trump will be just fine. They can claim they're going to impeach him all they want. It'll never happen. Never. They're not getting rid of him. They're not impeaching him. He's going to be the president for at least the rest of his next 2 years, if not what I believe is going into 2024. He'll be a two-term president. I think, though, that the things that are at stake are bills banning what they consider hate speech. So if I make a tranny joke, hate speech. If I make a joke about lesbians or gays, hate speech. If I make a joke about Hitler, hate speech. Those are the things that you'll see. You'll also see a lot more obstructionism. Things will go back to not getting done. And we're getting a lot done now. We've confirmed 2 Supreme Court justices. We've gotten funding for the border wall. We've already built quite a bit of fencing and wall, and we're going to continue. And the tax cuts. We also have the additional 10% tax cut to the middle class we're going for that we will not get if we don't have control of the House and the Senate. So we need to get that done. We can't fix healthcare with the Democrats obstructing everything. The thing that they keep saying is healthcare is not done. All they did was break it apart. Yeah, because we can't get the votes to get it done. In order to replace it, you have to vote for it. And if you just vote no on everything or refuse to vote on everything because you're butthurt that you lost, it ain't getting passed. You're making people suffer unnecessarily to score political points with your base. I think the important thing to remember is get out, vote November 6th. Vote red. Don't let these lunatics in the White House. And the reason I say that is I don't even know if I can find it, but let's see if we can find Trump's new advertisement. Oh, we'll just pull it up on Twitter. I haven't seen these advertisements yet, so we'll go through all of them together. But that's from a speech. It's 14. We're getting close. Jobs, not mobs. I thought it was actually a really good one.
We are in an economic boom that most folks thought was impossible. We have penetrated the 1 to 2% so-called secular stagnation zone. Average hourly earnings up by 2.8% near record levels of consumer and business confidence. Second quarter GDP growth is impressive, 4.1%, the lowest unemployment rate since December of 1969. The American core economy is on fire. It's on fire like it was in the 60s.
Okay, so this is getting towards the end of what they're talking about, the Republicans, the side of jobs. So, these are all good numbers. 4.1% GDP growth rate. Record low unemployment rate for everybody across the board, but most importantly, blacks, Hispanics, and women. the economic boom is important to remember, because that is the most important thing that we sent him to office for. Obviously, immigration and stuff like that are things that are very important to all conservatives, but it's not as important to the country as a whole as the economy is. The economy is ranked much higher on the scale of importance to Americans. Whoops. Didn't mean to do that.
American core economy is on fire. On fire like it was in the 60s.
To the max.
Live on Facebook. Ain't no That's when civility can start again.
That's sickening. And all those are true. I urge anybody watching this video to go look up videos on Antifa. Go look at videos on the far left. Are there crazy conservatives out there doing some bad things? Yes. Because of the fact that I'm not a psycho, I'm willing to admit those things. Is the vast majority of violence being perpetrated by people on the left? Yes. That is just a fact. And if you follow these things and you break the cycle of only watching MSNBC or CNN or Fox News, you see these things and you're able to draw these conclusions for yourself. Look it up. People that are on the ground out there videotaping this stuff, watching little old ladies being maced, watching old men being drug out of their cars and beaten by left-wing mobs. It's disgusting. And something has to be done. You vote these people in, you're legitimizing that behavior. We need to put a stop to it. Regardless of if you're on the fence about Trump and you're on the fence about conservatives. Until the political climate cools down, you need to vote Republican. If you care about the pillars of American society, due process, safety for our children and ourselves, freedom of speech, freedom of expression, freedom of the press. If you care about those things, this isn't a hard choice, this election. It's very important that you get out and you don't put these people in power. If you put them in power, it gets worse. Because it doesn't just stop with Trump supporters. It doesn't. The way this stuff works, and I'll do a video on it because I've done a lot of research, but the way this mentality on the left is, and the type of politics they buy into, conservatives are just the start. Because conservatives are the biggest threat. When you crush the stalwart guardian of these ideas, such as, free speech, freedom of that's the gateway into doing it to people that are more moderate, that are centrist. They don't hold right-wing values. Those people are next, until the only people left are people that are part of the groupthink, that fall into the party line and toe the party line and regurgitate the party narrative. Get out and vote. Do not let these people into power. If you do, and you voted for them, you reap what you sow. And when you don't like what you get and you can't remove them anymore, don't complain. Thank you very much, everyone. If you liked the video, subscribe, leave a comment. Like the video, dislike the video, and leave a comment. I don't care. Always down for a conversation with people. Always down to discuss this stuff with people. I love having my viewpoints challenged. I'll see you guys soon.